Hi everybody. Let me turn off that light. All right. Less glare. Not very good lighting in here today. So good afternoon, everybody. So tomorrow you have a lab practicum to do, and I just sent out an announcement about that. And my hope is that unless you're quarantined, that you can make it to the lab tomorrow to do the practicum. And if you can't, for a really good reason, then send me an email so we can come up with an alternative plan. All right. And just to be clear, the practicum is a performance assessment, which means, of course, you can practice ahead of time, but when you come to the GIS lab to do the practicum tomorrow, you're starting from scratch. You're starting from a blank project, and you're completing the tasks that I've laid before you in the 2 hour block of time that you have. So there are 3 blocks of time tomorrow: 9 a.m. to 11, 11 to 12:50. It's an hour and 50. 11 to 1, we'll say, and 1 to 3 p.m. Use the sign-up sheet that's on Sakai to sign up for one of these blocks of time. I checked it this morning, and it looked like maybe 9 of you had signed up, so a lot of you haven't signed up yet. And there's only 12 slots in each of these blocks of time, so the sooner you get there, the more likely you will get your preferential block of time. All right. So I'll if you guys have any questions about what's going on tomorrow, put them in the comments, and I'll take a look and try to answer your questions as best I can. All right, let's see what we got. Not many people in here today. I really don't want to start taking attendance. Maybe I'll have to. All right, so last time we were working on a project, a data set, which was associated with Chapter 5 in getting to know ArcGIS Pro. And this data set is for conflicts in the continent of Africa. And in Chapter 5, you're introduced to using tasks to organize your workflow. And in Part 5B and C, you're introduced to a feature called Model Builder, which allows you to build models of workflows that you're going to be doing more than once. And in 5C, you're introduced to the idea, the concept of doing Python scripting to automate workflows. So let's continue with this. I think we were this is pretty much where we ended on Monday. And so I got this this data here. Let me pull a new copy out here. I got this feature class in my geodatabase called conflicts, called ACLED 2005 to 2018. And I'll drag another copy over here to the desktop. And you can see that the layer that we made last time filtered out just conflicts in South Sudan, and then we did some statistics for those conflicts that involved human or civilian violence. I think that was the thing. Okay, so let's build another layer here, which is shows the conflicts in Rwanda. All right, so we'll go and instead of using the tasks like we did last time, we'll do this manually. We'll go into properties, and I'm going to call this ACLED 2010 through 2018 Rwanda. Okay, and I'll do definition queries here. to filter out just the data for country Rwanda. Here it is. And just data for years greater than or equal to 2008. Sorry, 2010. Click OK. So there's the Rwanda data, and then let's get the symbology. Why don't I do this? So I've showed some of you guys a tool. I want to apply symbology to Rwanda, similar to what I did with South Sudan. Maybe I'll pick a different color. But basically, I could go through here, symbology, and pick graduated symbols, and then proceed with all the parameters associated with it. But here's another tool. I know that the symbology I want for Rwanda is similar to what I have already for South Sudan. So there's a tool which allows you to apply symbology from one layer to another. So let me search for the word symbology. There it is. Apply symbology from a layer right here. So I'll click that. And the input layer is the Rwanda layer, my new layer, and I want to copy over the symbology from the South Sudan layer. And this auto-populated for me. Good. The source field is fatalities. The target field is also fatalities. And here it's saying, do I want to update the ranges of the data? I'm going to do update ranges here because I would expect in absolute terms the magnitude of the fatalities in Rwanda to be different than the magnitude of the fatalities in South Sudan. So let's run this, see what we get. And sure enough, yes, Rwanda had many more fatalities. So I could do, if I did maintain ranges, you see how the ranges are the same now. Okay. It's weird. It didn't seem to work right. Let's see, how many fatalities? 0. Oh, I guess most of them have. All right. Well, I'm not going to worry about too much. Something doesn't seem to be mapping correctly here. All the dots are the same size. All right. Why don't we try that again? Start from scratch. Put it out here, a new layer. Properties, filter by country is equal to Rwanda. And I'll filter by year is greater than or equal to 2010. And I want this to be 2010 through 2018. Rwanda. And I wonder if I go through this the old-fashioned way. I have no idea why. Let's change the color. Orange. Something really bright and orange. outline color. Let's not turn off the outlines. Okay. Well, that time it worked. So I don't know why, but it was when I applied the symbology. That was weird. When I applied the symbology from one layer to the other, it got the class cutoff values really wrong. But when I did it manually, it did it fine. So there's a lot fewer fatalities in Rwanda than in South Sudan, and so I'm seeing that here. Okay. So let's take a look at this tool called Model Builder. So if you go in the Analysis tab, there's an icon for Model Builder up here in the upper left hand corner. So let's click that. And when you click that, you get this pane right here, and the tools up here in the toolbar have changed. And you have a new tab next to your map called Model 1. So let's go into, well, you know, and also in here, let's see, in my conflicts toolbox, here we'll delete, this was from a previous time. Well, I'll leave it. There it is. It creates a model in your conflicts toolbox, in your conflicts folder, in your project folder. And then up here in the Model Builder ribbon, there's an icon for tools. So if I click this, the geoprocessing toolbox opens up, and let's produce a model that will calculate some summary statistics for us about Rwanda. Okay, and we did this last time by hand. Let's see if I can remember what we did. We selected, we did a selection by attribute, and we only selected the features which corresponded to violence against civilians, and then we calculated some statistics which summed them up. So how many incidences were there, and what was the total number of fatalities for instances of violence against people. So we want to build a model which does the same analysis. All right, that's our goal here. So the first thing that we got to do is select by attribute. Let's see, select layer, there it is. Select layer by attribute. So I drag that onto my model builder. And see if I can move this over here. Zoom in a little bit. Okay, so this geoprocessing tool, which will select features in a layer by attribute, gets added to my model builder. And okay, so we'll do that, and then let's do the other thing. Once we select the attributes we want, we're going to want to do summary statistics. So I'll drag a copy of that out here. And so in the model builder, you can drag stuff around. You can change the way that things look. And each of these tools has parameters associated with it. Let me double click this. So if I double click select layer by attributes, the parameters associated with that tool pop up, just like it would over here. Just like it would over here in the geoprocessing pane, it pops up in my model builder. So the input rows that I'm going to have is this new layer, AC LED 2010 to 2018 Rwanda, and I'm going to make a new selection, and I'm going to create an expression for selection where the let me see if I can find this. There it is. Event type is equal to, let me this a little bigger so you can see all these words. Actor. Event type is equal to violence against civilians. All right, that's what we want. And I'll click OK. And I'm going to move this over here. Sorry, my computer keeps beeping. Silence. Okay. So what you see the flow here is this tool, which is select features by attribute, is going to this tool right here is taking as an input this layer AC LED 2010 to 2018 Rwanda. That layer is being passed to the tools. See the arrow here? And there's an output that is created. So this is the group of selections. All right, so then what we want is, if I double click down here on summary statistics, we want our input table to be the output of the previous tool. Once we select the features that we want that to feed into the next. So let me select this one. This one's not going to be the right one, I think. Okay, we got to get the connections right here. And we want an output table, so I'll just call this Rwanda statistics. And the field that we want is fatalities, and we want there to be a sum. And that's it. So if I click that, oh, it did get the connection right, I think. See, that's the wrong connection. We want the output of the select layers by attribute tool to be fed into the statistics. So that's the wrong layer. That's the wrong layer. That's the wrong. Why do I keep picking the wrong one? There we go. Let me click the tool up here, auto layout. Look at that. It automatically does a layout. Now something isn't quite right here. Output table. Oh, it doesn't like the name because there's a space there. There we go. Okay. I can click validate. Seems like everything's fine now. So let me zoom, fit the window. There we go. Okay. So just go through what's going on here. So the layer that's called AC LED 2010 to 2018 is being passed to this geoprocessing tool, select layer by attribute. So I'm taking that as an input and I'm creating a new selection where I'm just selecting the features that have event type equal to violence against civilians. All right, and that creates this output right here. And then I'm passing that output through the summary statistics tool, and I'm summing up the number of fatalities, and that's going to create a table that gets put onto my project. I'm going to remove these other tables from before so we can see this. Okay. So we're all set up. Now I can hit run up here. Let me save this. I click the save button to save my my model. Validated it. Now I'm going to run, and it's done. Okay, so to go back to the catalog, in my conflicts folder, where's refresh? There it is. In my conflicts geodatabase, I have this new table, Rwanda statistics. So it got produced. Let's open it and take a look. And it does what we did last time. There's 141 instances of, in Rwanda, there's 141 instances of violence against civilians, resulting in a total of 71 deaths. Right? That's what it's telling us. All right. the selection that I made is sticky here. You can see it on my main map. The selection that my model created are sticky here on my map. So if I want to get rid of that selection, I would have to go here and clear it, clear out. So what was selected was just those instances of violence against civilians. Okay, so you know, the model builder then can be generalized to sort of create your own geoprocessing tools. And when I say generalized, what I mean is that instead of specifying a specific layer to be fed into your model and pass from step to step to step, you can instead say that that layer is a parameter, and then when you run the model, a window will pop up asking for you to put in those parameters. Okay, let me show you how you would do that. So you would go to, where's my model? Let me close this out. You know, I'll save changes. If I want to edit a model, I can find it over here in my project folder. Right click on it and then select edit, and it opens up. Alright, so I want to make this, instead of it being a fixed layer, I want to make it a parameter. So I'm going to right click on that and select parameter, and this little P pops up. So now that's a parameter to my model. And in my select layer by attribute, let me create a variable here where the variable is the expression that I'm using to select features. Okay, so that expression is being fed in here, and then that itself is a parameter of my model. So I can specify the expression that I want to feed to my selection tool. Now let's see what else. The final output. Well, let's make this a parameter too, so that I can specify the name I want my output table to be. And for summary statistics, I'll create a variable, the statistics field, so the thing I want to calculate itself, and I'll make that a parameter. Okay. And so now my model has 4 parameters: the input layer that I'm going to process, the expression for my query that's going to select a certain number of features from that layer, the statistics I want to calculate about the selected features, and a name for my output summary statistic table. Okay. So now, if I run this, let me save it, validate it, run it. Oops. Let's do auto layout. I don't like that. Sorry, I didn't want to revalidate it again. Save it. Okay. So now if I go to the, let's close it. Close this out. All right. So now if I go to my my catalog pane, and that model is sitting here, and if I, let's see, I don't want to edit it. If I double click it to open it, or just click open, it should open up and look exactly like a geoprocessing tool with all these parameters. Okay, there we go. So it's got a default that's selected, but now I can specify, you know, which, let's do South Sudan. So maybe I want to, you know, instead find the number of civilian fatalities for the fatalities for violence against civilians in South Sudan. And maybe I want a different event type. So now event type is equal to violence against. Let's change now. Battle, no change of territory. So I want to add up the fatalities for battle, no change of territory. And so this is going to return statistics about South Sudan. Battle, no change of territory fatalities sum. Okay, and I'll run it, and it puts that table right here on my project. And there we go. So there were 2,184 battles with no change of territory, resulting in 14,000 casualties in South Sudan. Let's run it again. All right. And there's the selection. Let's clear it because it's sticky. All right. So the thing that you can do is you can create your own geoprocessing tools, which are chaining together existing geoprocessing tools in a way that you want in your model builder. So you can create, in the model builder, you can create a workflow that is customizable, where you can change the parameters that you're feeding to it. All right, we'll get more practice with model builder later in the semester. Okay, let's go to let's talk about scripting. So there, close this out. Let's okay. So the text wants us to create a new layer. Shoot, where am I? Here we go. So I'll put another copy of this data set out here, and we'll call this AC LED 2010 to 2018 Nigeria, and we're going to filter out where country is equal to Nigeria and year is greater than or equal to 2010. All right, and we'll zoom to layer. Right click, zoom to layer. Okay, so we got data for Nigeria. So we would symbolize this the same way as we did the other layers. Right click, symbology. We're doing graduated color or graduated symbols. We're looking at fatalities, natural breaks, 3 classes. We'll change the default symbol to something different, but I don't like the color, so let's change. We need a different color. How about bright magenta? No outline, apply. There we go. Okay, so we apply the same symbology as we had before for the other countries. So now we'll have 3 countries symbolized on the same map. All right, mission accomplished. So now one thing you can do, let's say that we wanted to share this layer with another person. One thing you can do is you can go over here, right click, and do sharing, save as a layer file, and that'll create a file that you can share with other people, which preserves the symbology of that layer. And but one thing to keep in mind is it doesn't include the data that's being visualized. So the data would have to be already be in the possession of whoever you're sharing that with. But for for you, if you have a symbology that you really like and you want to preserve it, you can save the layer file and then you can reopen that layer later. There's also a geoprocessing tool for this. So we'll go to Analyze, Tools, and search for Save to Layer. There we go, save the layer file. I'll click that. And the input layer, we'll save the Nigeria layer and we'll save it to, how about Nigeria layer, just call it Nigeria layer. And we'll preserve the relative paths. So that's saying, relative to where our project folder is, that's where we want this layer to look for data. Okay, so if you send this data to another computer, as long as that data has the same, that computer has the same file structure in this folder, it should work. And I'll click Run. And we'll look at the catalog, and there it is. There's a layer file right here. So if I delete this layer, remove, and then click this layer file and do add to map, it adds it back in. It looks exactly like it did. So the layer file contains all the preferences for that layer, including the symbology. All right, let's go. So if we go click on the history here, this history button in the upper left, you can see a history of all the geoprocessing tools that you've applied. So we did a couple model builders. The last one we did was save this Nigeria layer to a layer file. And if I right click on this command, you'll see one of the options is copy Python command. All right, so I'm going to select that. And then in my analysis view, there's a option to view a Python window. There it is. So if I click that, there's this window that it pops up down the bottom, and there's a line down here which you can probably not see where you can start entering code for Python. So Python is like a fully functional programming language. So if I do 1 + 2, you can't see that, can you? It's so tiny. It says 3. If I do 7 divided by 2, it says 3.5. So it's like a little calculator here in my console. But this also, you can also plug in, so I'll paste in what I just copied from the toolbox history, the geoprocessing history, and it's the command that executes the save to layer file command. And it's a Python function that takes as an argument the layer that I want to save and where I want to save it to. And if I hit return, it's saying you can't do that because it already exists. So let's change the name of the layer I want to create. Just call it Nigeria layer new, and it's done. So if I go back to my catalog, there it is, Nigeria layer new. So I've executed that geoprocessing tool from using a line of Python code. So Python is a full-blown computer language that's used for everything from making fully functional web applications to doing simple calculations. And I use Python, or my students use Python in the capstone course for all their data analysis and figure creation. And it's fortuitous that the program that's integrated into ArcGIS Pro is also Python. So there'll be some synergy there. But the utilization of Python in ArcGIS, you can actually, Esri created a Python library, Python package that exists and can be used independent of ArcGIS Pro. So when you have an ArcGIS Pro license, you also have a license to this Python package. And that means you can write Python programs or scripts that execute ArcGIS workflows, and you never even have to open up ArcGIS Pro. You can just run these things right from a Python interpreter. All right, but here we're running them inside of ArcGIS Pro in this little Python box. Okay, so we're almost done here. Let's go to, let's see, what do we want to do next? Okay, so let me close the Python window. And I'll show you that another thing they include with this project is a script file. It's called select and summarize. So let me right click on this and click open. If I open it, it's a geoprocessing tool, and select the input layer, select the output layer. But I can also click edit, and you can see what this script actually includes. So this is a Python script, and it's got let's see if you can see this. Yes. So you can see that, no. So it's got anything that starts with the pound symbol is just a comment. It's just words that describe what's happening and what the program does, but they don't actually do anything. So here's the first actual line of code: import arcpy. And what that is importing this package that I told you about, which is all the ArcGIS tools, making them accessible to this Python script. Here it's importing a tool called ENV for environment from that arcpy library, and then here it's using that to set the workspace for that environment to the folder that contains the conflict geodatabase. So now it knows where to look for data. All right, and then it's got these two prompts. It's prompting for an input file, it's prompting for an output file, and then it's running this Python command. It's doing this function call, select layer by attribute, and the event type that it wants is violence against civilians, and then it's doing another geoprocessing tool, arcpy statistics analyze. Here it's calculating the sum of the fatalities in the data set that we're providing to it. Okay, so if you wait, let's go back here. There we go. So if you select this and run this script, it pops up as just a geoprocessing tool here, and you're asked to select the input layer and name an output, a name for the output layer or file. So let's do Nigeria statistics, and then we'll run it. So it selected the features that correspond to violence against civilians, and then it should have created and put in my catalog Nigeria statistics. Let's refresh my geodata database. There it is. Let's open this up and take a look. So it calculated, it summed up how many instances of violence against civilians there were, 3,470, and that resulted in over 26,000 fatalities. Okay. So there was a bug in the code in this script, and if you are following the procedure in the textbook and you tried to run it, it would fail and it would give you an error. And I know that Alexis discovered this, and I discovered it when I was working through this a couple of days ago. and you get this error, and it says something about like, you know, the input layer doesn't exist or something like that. And the source of this error, here I'll try to show you. Now I fixed it, so mine's not going to have the error anymore. But the source of the error was it appeared that this this script was composed years ago, and then they updated it with a newer version of the text. But what happened was this variable name right here, so when it's getting an input file from the user when you run the tool, run the script, and it's storing that input, the name of the input layer as a variable called ACLED 2010-2018 input file, and then that information is passed to these functions down here, which actually carry out the geoprocessing tools, carry out the geoprocessing that you are aiming for, which includes selecting violence against civilian attributes or features that have violence against civilian as the event type, and then summing up the fatalities of those selected features. And so the variable name that you have here, which stores the name of the input, has to match the variable name that you're passing to the function. And that wasn't so. Initially, this said something like ACLED 2003 through 2000 something. And so when you ran the tool, you get this error because when it got down here and was trying to run this function and select features from this input layer, it didn't exist because there was nothing stored in the variable called ACLED 2010 to 2018 input file. All right, so let's see if you can fix this. If you guys are working through chapter 5, if you can fix this, open up, so right click on this script, select and summarize, and click edit, and it'll come up in a text editor, and look at this line right here, and you'll see that the name of the variable is not the same as the name of the variable down here. And here, maybe it's worth doing this. So to make this more clear, there's nothing special about these names. This could just be my silly uncle, and this one could be cats are bad. And all you got to do is make sure down here that, well, what file do we want to pass? What's the name of the file we want to pass to this select by attribute geoprocessing tool? It's the input that we called my silly uncle. And down here, it's that same input, my silly uncle, and the output is what I'm calling, has the variable cats are bad. And as long as those variables match up with the inputs that the user is supplying, the script will work. So here, I'll prove it to you. Save, and then we'll come over here and open. So what layer do I want to work with? Nigeria. What do I want my output to be? Nigerian stats fatalities. Got to give it a new name. And then I'll click run. And it works. Okay. So if I refresh my geo database, there it is. And it's the same statistics. All right. Aaron says cats are good. Yes, most cats are. Most cats are not good or bad. They're just cats. They're agents of chaos in the world. And some cats are better companions than other cats. And our cat likes to be very destructive. So I was kind of mad at her this morning. Alexis fixed it. Okay, so she found this error and was able to fix it. And Aaron wants to know what happened to my cat painting. Do you mean my bobcat? You mean that one? It's still there. So that is fact about my life. That's a painting made by my best friend from. It's airbrushed. My best friend in high school. His name is David Leonard, and he airbrushed that when he was in college in art school, and now he's a full-time illustrator and does all kinds of crazy stuff like comics for magazines and illustrations for children's books. So someday maybe he'll be super famous, and I'll say I have a Dave Leonard original from back when he was just getting started. Okay, so that's it for today. Anybody else have any other questions for me? I feel like today felt like a slog just getting through this material, and I think that's just part of the process in GIS. It's not all fantastic discoveries and of finding missing information and knowledge discovery in huge data sets. It's also understanding something about the nuts and bolts of how to use the software. So that's it for today. Now let me put this thought in your mind before you go. So tomorrow's the first practicum, and then next week is your first exam. And so this is a good time of the semester to start thinking about your end of semester project. And I haven't nailed down the parameters of that project for you yet, but it's not too. I'll be doing that in the next couple weeks, and it's not too soon to be thinking about the types of data that you might be interested in looking at. And we've done some work with data involving natural resources. We've done some work involving data that involves agriculture and sort of socioeconomic data, demographics. We've done work involving data from that is related to health, public health, and but there's a tons of other types of data out there that's geospatial, that's geospatially referenced, and there's data on crime. There's data on natural resource extraction. There's data on energy use. There's data on pollution. There's tons of data sets out there that you can use and get into very deeply. So be thinking about it. What kind of questions are you interested in? What kind of data sets might you be interested in? What should we expect for tomorrow? The practicum for tomorrow is review the assignment that's posted on Sakai, which is the practicum I want you guys to do tomorrow, and review the announcements that I posted relating to the practicum, and review the videos for the lectures. We did what's going to be the most relevant. The lectures that involved working with the CAL data, making a choropleth and a graduated symbol layer of that CAL data, which kind of showed on the same map the number of cows in each state and the fraction or the ratio of cows to people in each state. Okay, so that activity, that work that we did, was the most relevant to what you're being asked to do tomorrow. All right, and so if you're reviewing just a couple of the lessons that we've done so far, those are the ones that are going to help you the most. right? And remember, you can practice. Terrell, you can practice these tasks before tomorrow, but tomorrow you're coming in and you're being assessed on your ability to perform it starting from scratch, okay? All right, that's it for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a nice